Hey everybody, Dr. Grant here. Today we're going to be talking about specifically how to reverse your ADHD symptoms. Now, put together 3 case scenarios that I see common over and over again. I'm curious also if you guys have these curious symptoms. So you're going to be very active in the chat because this is what I see over and over again, and it's going to help kind of really identify what your case scenario is, as well as how to reverse those ADHD symptoms. So it always requires definitely investigation. So case scenario 1 is go ahead and put in the chat if you are number 1. Just put a 1 in the chat. And this is if you're somebody that has ADHD or taking ADHD medications and they are working for you, but you still feel that something is lacking. Go ahead and put in the chat 1 if that is you. Again, we're going to have 3 case scenarios here. So this is something I see very common where the ADHD medications are working, but it's not quite working to the extent they want to, such as it's not quite there as far as the focus. It's not quite there to be consistent throughout the day for them. And so they're kind of a little up and down, but the medication is working. It's just not quite there. So in this case scenario, I had a patient, this from very common, I do see this, where we'll see in this situation where they have a true ADHD situation. And that's why they find that ADHD medications are working, because they will find, for example, that their norepinephrine levels are low. Now let's do a different color there. I like red better. Their dopamine levels are low, which is very classic ADHD, as well as their epinephrine levels will be low as well. So that's like the classic kind of ADHD scenario. And then PA levels will be low. So what do you do in this situation that maybe you need a little bit more oomph and more supportive treatment? This is where you could add additional supportive treatment along with the medication. Again, always check with your doctor first before you add anything, for sure. I have to emphasize that. But definitely improving PA levels, so adding something like D-L-phenylalanine. Dopa Boost is another one that I do like because it has a combo of like tyrosine and it has a combo of L-Dopa right here. So it's going to help improve specifically dopamine. So I do like that one. B-complex is typically the reason why I usually will add a B-complex with this kind of case scenario is typically you will find P5P, which is the activated form of vitamin B6 that tends to be deficient, that helps with the process of breaking down and building a lot of these different neurotransmitters. So norepinephrine and epinephrine. L-theanine is another one that I like to use to help improve norepinephrine as well as dopamine and epinephrine. So that's another reason why you'd be doing. So if you're in this case scenario, go ahead, let me know in the chat, put a 1 if this is you. All right, now, when we do add these, like even with this person was experiencing all these things. Like the medication was working, it's just they still was having focus issues. It was working a bit, but it wasn't quite to the extent. So after implementing these things, they felt great. They're able to have focus throughout the entire day, along with their medication, having that supportive treatment, and that works great. And this is something I see common time and time again with my patients and clients I work with. Now, scenario number 2. So go ahead and put in the chat if this is you. Go ahead and put a 2. And that is that the ADHD medications have not been working for you, and you feel more stressed and tired and fatigued and even have still focus issues. So go ahead and put that if you are. Put number 2 if you feel like that is you. So this is very common where medications maybe aren't working for you, or maybe they did at one point in time and now you're getting more side effects. So what I usually will see when I do run different neurotransmitter testing to see the imbalances that are going on here, this is a very classic example. This is from one of my patients and clients, that they'll have elevated levels, or not necessarily elevated, but sometimes just like their dopamine levels are fine, or they might just be elevated, and they can feel more agitated and stressed because of it. Their tyramine or tyrosine levels can be also just fine. They're also norepinephrine levels are too high, and that can make you feel more stressed and agitated for sure. And then on top of that, there's some other things that might be elevated here or also decreased, like glycine and histamine levels might be too low, which are also important for neurotransmitters. But the main point here is things can be elevated when why medications might not be working for you. So this is where we have to kind of look at it a bit further and realize, okay, how do we lower those levels? Also, on top of that, if you're feeling tired all the time, it's important to look at cortisol that could be impacting this. And so this person, they had low levels in the morning, afternoon, and at night, wouldn't say it was like elevated, but he was also feeling a little bit more stressed at night. So I like to add ashwagandha if that's the case, to kind of lower down the cortisol levels a little bit. And then add adrenal desiccated in the morning and midday to help improve that. But when it comes to the neurotransmitters, how to kind of start lowering these down if they are too high. Things like with this person, their norepinephrine levels are too high. Dopamine, we're just on the cusp. So L-theanine and rhodiola are some great two ones that can help reducing these levels. And not reducing it to a point where it's too low. It actually is a good modulator for balancing it where you want it to be. B-complex is another one that's going to be really important. And then D-alpha-alanine, because you saw here, still their PA levels were low. So that's another one. So that's case scenario number 2. So let me know in the chat if that is you, if you are number 2, if you're someone that has taking medication, but it's not been working for you, and you feel more stressed and tired and have focus issues. Okay, now case scenario number 3. This is someone, go ahead and put in the chat if you are number 3. And this is where you're taking ADHD medication, still not working for you, but you feel more depressed and tired. Okay, so you have more of those depressed feelings, and this is impacting your focus as well and your attention. So go ahead and put, if you're number 3, put that in the chat. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I just want to kind of see and gauge where people are at. But this is typically what I do see is these 3 different case scenarios. So with this case, what happens here, what I do see, sometimes PA levels will be elevated. I also will see dopamine levels being elevated. I will see serotonin levels being decreased. And then epinephrine, your norepinephrine levels sometimes are just fine, but epinephrine levels will be low. So what do we do in this situation? So in this situation, it's a little bit different here. One, you also want to make sure you're checking for different hormones like cortisol, because this could impact also the tired. And a lot of times, again, we'll still see low cortisol levels. So we'll add something like adrenal and maybe ashwagandha at night to help with the stress, help with sleep. But something we'll incorporate is probably like 5-HTP and L-tryptophan to help the serotonin pathway. So you can see 5-HTP is really important, tryptophan is both important. So both these are going to help improve serotonin. So you remember their serotonin levels are low. That's what's causing the depression for the most part. Now, also what needs to be supported is using something like L-theanine that also helps the serotonin pathway as well as the dopamine pathway. So it's very important to make sure you're addressing both. B-complex can help support both the serotonin and also dopamine pathway. So that's why it's great. I love using these both. And then we'll also do some micronutrient testing. This person, their vitamin D levels were low. So that's another one that could be contributing the depression as well as fatigue. So it's also important to do sometimes, if it makes sense, to do some micronutrient testing as well. So another thing to also make sure is to check other hormones. So with this patient, they had low progesterone levels as well as low DHEA levels. So it's really critical when someone's feeling more depressed and tired, it's probably because also there's some hormones that are off. So adding something like a natural progesterone cream and DHEA can definitely make a huge difference with helping with mood and depression. And that's definitely can impact the focus for sure. So those are 3 case scenarios that I see common over and over again. And probably at least a lot of you probably relate to one of those. Now I know there's variances between these two, between all 3 of these, but these are the common ones. So I try to give you the best to help what's going to be the most effective for reversing your ADHD symptoms. And it's going to be using a lot of times these 3 different scenarios. And of course, doing further investigation for yourself. So the other things that are important to implement that I think are really important is definitely eliminating stressors, internal and external stressors in your life, because that's going to definitely impact from preventing from allowing your body to heal. Exercise is always important. And then when it comes to foods, if you're scenario number 1, usually it's going to be the case of higher proteins and veggies, because you're not having enough dopamine. So therefore you need to implement more proteins in your diet and a lot of different amino acids, and then definitely veggies for different types of vitamins that help support a lot of those different cofactors. Now, as far as scenario number 2 or 3, if you're in that situation, usually that means you need a more balanced carbs and proteins and healthy fats. And veggies are always still important as well. So those are the kind of things that typically, now usually with every person that I work with, we're still trying to really give more individualized, customized nutrition plan. But typically that's going to be if you're in those different case scenarios between 1, 2, and 3. And of course, coaching is going to be really important. I think that's very effective for keeping you accountable, to also implement on different strategies around that, I think are good things to implement helping with your ADHD, to reversing those symptoms. So, I mean, if you would like to find out this information for your own ADHD, to figure out how do I know what's imbalanced for you, I'd love to help you out, but it requires that further investigation that I do with each one of my patients. And so typically, it has taken me many years figuring this out. Going through medical school, continuing education, have spent well over $500,000 on this. You don't need to do that. I did that for you. I did the heavy lifting for you. And so what I'm offering you is a chance to book in a consultation with me for 45 minutes to an hour. That's a $750 value. You also get access to the nutrition lifestyle tracking app, which is $300 value, and then the questionnaire, focus mind questionnaire, that's $197 value. So you get access to all this, as well as if you purchase today, you get access to our HD Health course. It's a $597 value. So total value almost $2,000, and you get it all for just $297. So all you gotta do is click on the link in the description below. Once you click on that link in the description below, I'll take you to this page. You'll put in your information, purchase. It's very important. You're going to book the appointment. You'll hit this, click this next button. It says book now. You will select the practitioner, which would be me. You pick your date and time. Once you've done that, you'll fill out your information. And then once you have submitted and picked your date and time, this is very important. You'll come to this landing page. Make sure you check for both emails. One being your confirmation appointment email, to making sure that you have the Zoom link for our appointment. Second is your email that you'll get from Practice Better, which is our online client portal. That's how you get access to the lifestyle nutrition app to be able to enter in foods, data, tracking. It also, you can sync it up to your Fitbit, your Apple Watch, anything you use for tracking your sleep and stuff and metrics like that. So it's really great to use and utilizing that. But also make sure to block out 45 minutes to an hour. Make sure to show up on time. I'm really critical about this. You need to show up early, show up on time for your appointment. Otherwise, that's marked as a no-show if you are 10 minutes late. So make sure you do show up time. Also, if you have a significant other or a spouse, make sure they're there. It's really important that they're there because I like to know the outside perspective from a spouse or significant other. It's really important for me to put an action plan together, having that other significant other. So please find a time that they're going to be also present, because they're a part of your health and your treatment plan together. So go ahead but if you really want to finally tackle your ADHD and understand this is what we'll be doing is I'll be spending that time to be able to put together an action plan together for you, as well as what lab testing would be best for you once I've gotten a chance to look over your medical history to putting that together. So if you're interested, go ahead and click on the link in the description below. Thank you guys so much for attending, and I will see you guys all in the next live stream. Thanks. Bye.